Hi, this is Nisha from Ubongo, and here's a recording of my talk from the 2018 Social and Behavior Change Communication Summit. It's about how we can change the world by crafting super sticky stories for Africa's littlest learners. Now I'd like to introduce you to Akili, a curious 3-year-old girl who lives with her family at the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. If you look at Akili through a lens of international development, what may come to mind are statistics like the 34% stunting rate for children in Tanzania, the over 200,000 children in Africa who will die from malaria this year, or the fact that 60% of kids like Akili will stop school by the age of 16. But if you were to look at Akili through a lens of child development, or just actually spend a day with her, there are very different things that would end up occupying your mind and time. Like toddlers around the world, one minute Akili's smile and laugh will be lighting up your day, and the next moment she'll be sobbing over spilled milk that she poured all over herself. Soon after that, she'll be furious that her blue dress, which is still drying on the line, cannot be worn right now. This toddler turbulence makes it a frustrating time for parents and caregivers, and yet this is a very fascinating time for those of us interested in behavior. 90% of brain development happens in the first 5 years of life. From the ages of 0 to 3, Akili's brain has been making more than 1 million neural connections every second. And now, from the ages of 3 to 5, what she hears, sees, and does will reinforce just a selection of those connections, while the others will become weak and fade away. This process is laying the cognitive foundation of who Akili will be. During these years, Akili will develop a sense of self, establish behaviors, and set patterns that can last a lifetime. Studies of everything from toothbrushing habits to risk-taking to empathy have shown that behavior, mindsets, and skills developed in early childhood have a lasting impact throughout life. So this gives us the opportunity for another kind of SBCC, social and behavior creation communication. Imagine if we could use communication to support the creation of positive habits and behaviors in the critical years of cognitive development, to build hand-washing habits, learn conflict resolution skills, promote positive gender norms, and develop empathy for other people and animals. At Ubongo, we're trying to do just that. We believe that with edutainment that builds brains, we can also build change. Launched in Tanzania in 2014 and now across the continent, our multi-platform edutainment or entertainment education programs are used by over 6.4 million households in Africa in Kiswahili, Kinyarwanda, English, French, and many more languages coming soon. Our beloved characters, singable songs, and sticky stories are our platform for social and behavior change and creation. Our content goes out across technologies, from radio to TV to interactive voice response on basic mobile phones. And our goal is to bring families top quality, fun, and localized content on whatever tech they can access. With programs for preschoolers, primary students, and parents, we get the whole family engaged in learning. Parents in households that access our shows reported a 16% increase in positive home teaching behaviors and 7% decrease in corporal punishment after 1 year of viewing. Primary students who watch our show Ubongo Kids, which is aimed at 7 to 12-year-olds, have increased their knowledge of malaria prevention methods and the SDGs, while also developing curiosity, growth mindset, and showing significant gains in math and science. But what about the littlest kids? Those like Akili who are just developing their sense of self as they discover the world around them. Can we really use media and communications to change or create behavior for them? I'd say absolutely, but there are differences in how we need to communicate for the littlest learners, and we've been exploring these through our preschool series Akili and Me. Now, if you've ever tried to do a focus group with 3 and 4-year-olds, you'll know you're lucky if you can just get them to tell you when they need to go to the bathroom. And it's futile asking the kinds of questions that we'd use in formative research with adults or even school-age kids. These little kids aren't yet able to think rationally, and they can't focus enough for a focus group or comprehend a scale of 1 to 10. They don't plan ahead, they don't have any sense of time, and they can't yet articulate why they do the things they do. But that doesn't mean they can't show us what works for them. They aren't going to spell it out on their own, but if given the chance to experience something, they will most certainly react, respond, and engage, or ignore, in a more honest and unfiltered way than most adults. So we use a human-centered research process with a strong focus on prototyping and testing to help little kids show us the style of communication that works for them. As prototypes, we create plays, puppet shows, songs using old tunes, anything we can put together in a jiffy in order to get something in front of kids so they can show us what's working. We use prototyping to test storylines for comprehension and engagement, to try different pedagogical and messaging approaches, and even to evolve our design and characters in response to kids' preference. But preference and engagement aren't the same thing, so we need to develop programs that can hold a young kid's attention and that they also love enough to repeat over and over and over again, because that's how young kids learn. So we co-create content with partners who are bringing in subject matter expertise and with kids themselves who bring that kid expertise. And then we leverage our storytelling, music, and the friendship that viewers develop with our characters to ensure that we keep kids engaged. Then to know whether they're engaged, we test again with a method we've learned from the team behind Blue's Clues. So children's media research has shown that for kids aged 3 to 5, attention strongly correlates with comprehension. So for videos, we can use eye tracking between a screen with our content that we're testing and a screen with a distractor of something else to see which bits of our content are most engaging and what's making sense to the kids versus when they're lost and their attention's going elsewhere. Likewise, with audio and stories, we can see whether kids are staying engaged with listening or whether they wander off to do other things, like riding the toy elephants in our office. We've analyzed thousands of minutes of eye tracking data on Akili and Me. And do you want to try and guess what's the number one most effective thing for keeping kids engaged with their eyes on screen? It's not sparkles or sound effects or animals or potty humor. It's actually having our characters speak directly to the kids in the audience and invite them to join in and help. This is great news for social and behavior change communication. Because what we're finding is that the most effective method for getting kids engaged with mass media is actually to get them doing off-screen what the characters are doing on-screen. So whether it's finding a lost baby chick or scrubbing their hands with soap, little kids want to join in and do what the characters are doing. My dream is that 5 years from now, we'll have 50 million kids around Africa belly breathing and singing about eating their vegetables in 12 different languages with Akili every Saturday morning. Now, in response to that, you might be wondering, does this actually work? Does this now translate into actual learning and behaviors? Well, it's early days in the research, but the signs are really good. An experimental study of Akili and Me found that preschoolers watching the show outperformed control groups by 24% in early numeracy and 12% in overall school readiness after just 1 month of daily viewing. So we've seen rapid academic learning. The next step is to test behavior and well-being outcomes, which we'll be doing in a randomized control trial starting this year. We're optimistic because research from other places in the world is showing really good signs and giving us inspiration. American preschoolers who watch the show Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood exhibit higher levels of empathy, and research on Sesame Street has found that kids who watch a series of Cookie Monster videos teaching self-regulation are able to wait an additional 4 minutes on the famous marshmallow test. And that really, really matters. The ability to delay gratification and resist eating a marshmallow in order to earn a second one later is actually correlated with a range of life outcomes, from increased test scores to higher income to better health. So what are we waiting for? There is no time to waste to focus our efforts on social and behavior creation communication for Africa and the world's littlest learners. With 44% of the population under 14 and an estimated 2 billion babies to be born in the next 35 years, Africa is a continent of kids. And these kids will be facing many of the world's most difficult development challenges. This sounds daunting, but it is also an opportunity. Let's act now while those little brains are growing at light speed and use sticky storytelling to give the next billion kids the skills and mindsets that they'll need to change their own lives, their communities, and the world.